at the top?
Yep.
Okay, you don't need to do me or focus on me, just focus on the table. Okay, so once you have a simple line drawing done of your animal, you're going to get Scratchboard. You'll notice that the Scratchboard is a thicker paper and it has a coating over the top of it. You guys did this probably in 3rd or 4th grade or something where you did like a color rubbing and then you put black ink over it. It's the same concept except we buy this stuff pre-made, ready to go. The bad side of this is this stuff's a lot more expensive than just the regular white paper. So if you make a mistake, it's very unlikely that you're going to get another piece of paper. You need to make sure that you're thinking about what you're doing before you actually do it. Okay? Now, I cut a different size because we did have a misorder this year. So we had some really big pieces I cut in half, and I know some of you are going to be able to get by with a little bit smaller piece of paper. So you need to evaluate that. My drawing fits on the big paper, so I'm going to have to go with the big paper. What you're going to do is simply put the paper over the top, and you want to kind of center it. As I look at it, if I put the black paper right in the center, I'm probably cutting off more on the bottom. So I'm going to actually, okay, I said center. I'm not going to put it right in the center. I'm going to say, okay, I'd rather have a little more at the top. And then we have these clips. Either you get a big paper clip or you're going to get a binder clip. And that's just going to hold it in place while you transfer the image from the white paper onto the black Scratchboard. Okay? So you do that. And then you want to use a ballpoint pen to transfer your image. Or just a regular pen. I say ballpoint, but I'm talking about just a regular pen. There's 2 reasons we're going to use a regular pen instead of a pencil. Number 1, if you stop drawing, you know exactly where you left off. Number 2, it's got a hard tip to it, so that as we put some pressure down, it's going to cause a groove into the black paper. We don't want to actually draw on this paper unless, we just don't want to plan on doing that. We're going to push down and leave just a tiny bit of a groove, and when we get done, you might even have to kind of look at your paper from an angle just to see it. We don't want an outline of this image when we're all done. We want just a suggestion of a line to begin with, and then we're going to fill it in with textures. So, I got a paper clipped, I've got my pen. I'm just going to go along and trace it. And again, we're not worried about every detail. In fact, I haven't even gotten rid of my basic shapes that I told you about yesterday. I'm leaving them in there. They're just kind of a guide. I'm going to make sure I put in major details, major color changes. I've got the nose here, the ears, the eyes, and again, not much. I don't even know that I need to put this nose line in. Basically just the outline. Okay, so you get all done with that. Let's just assume that I'm done. I'm not going to take the time to do that. But you get all done, and then you're just going to take it off, and you might even want to check at some point here. I'm going to just look at mine, and yep, I can see a line there. So I would finish it up, take the clip off, and make sure you return the clip to the teacher. All right, and then you're good to go for the actual scratching. Now, those of you looking or watching the video, you probably can't see this, but as I turn it, can you ladies over here see lines? Just barely. Okay, again, the idea is not to be able to see lines as we look at it right now. We just need a guide as we're using the scratch tools. But they're not meant to be permanent at this point. So, we have 2 types of scratch tools. We have one that we call like an arrow and one that I call a shovel. Simply because one's more pointed like an arrow and the other one's rounded more like a shovel. Okay? You will find which one you like as you get to the first or the second day. I prefer the shovel, but I also prefer just a very sharp tool. If I get a really dull shovel, it doesn't do me a lot of good. So you want to make sure you have a sharp tool. And as far as your preference, it may depend on what type of strokes you're using too. So you have an arrow and a shovel, and hopefully we have enough tools that you can have one of each, because you might find that when you're working in the really light areas of your animal, you want to use the shovel. Where you're working in the more gray, darker grays, you want to use the arrow. So we'll just have to see. This is the animal that I'm doing right here. And a couple of things that you do not want to do. You do not want to take this tool and just go around the edge of your line and outline it. That is the biggest no-no that you can do right now. Okay? It's not going to get you a new piece of paper. It's not like you crinkle it up and throw it away, because I already told you this stuff's expensive. But what it will do is mean you're going to have to do a lot of sacrifice, or trying to change it just to get it salvageable. And it's also going to mean that your grade's going to go down. So you have to make sure you do not outline this with your tools. We have an outline with a little tiny groove that we did with the pen, but do not outline it with the tool. All right? I think I've already said that 5 times. You get the point? All right. Second thing is, when animals have fur, and even people in a sense, our fur does not go straight up and down, and it does not go straight across. So I'm not going to take the tool and just start shading this way or straight up and down. You really need to look at your picture and look at the direction of the fur. Most dogs, most cats, the fur on their nose grows up towards their eyes, and then when you actually get to the eyes, it curves around the eyes. And you can see this in this picture of it is a wolf, okay? By the way, my husband makes fun of me for the way I say it, and I'll bet you guys say it like I do. I'm going to say wolf. Does that sound right? Wolf. Okay, regardless, we're going off on a tangent. Okay, can you see the picture in there? Okay, so as we look at it, the fur goes up, up, up towards the eyes, and when we get to the eye, the fur gets longer, and it kind of curls around or curves around. So I really need to make sure that when I'm putting these strokes in, I'm doing exactly what is showing in the picture. On the edges of the nose or the nozzle, all right.
The nose.
You are taping, right? Great. The nose, we'll stick to that. It does come down, all right? And then as we get towards the body of this wolf, it's really long, it's a little thicker, and it actually goes around like this, okay? So, and these are all different places. I'm going to stop every once in a while, I'm going to evaluate, and I'm going to say, okay, do I need to change things? When I'm doing dogs and cats with Scratchboard, I actually turn the paper upside down. I find the nose, all right, and I actually pull the pen towards me, or the scratch tool towards me, because that works for me. You may find a different technique, but that's what works for me. Can you get pretty close in there? Okay, now, you're going to have to look at this. Can you see the tool in there?
Yeah.
Okay, these tools have a top and a bottom. We actually want to have the tool just like this, all right? It curves around like this. Again, this is the bottom. If you do it upside down, you might get a line, some white taken out, but it won't be very much and won't be as effective. So you want to make sure that it curves around like this, all right? And again, I would suggest pulling it towards you. So if that means you turn your paper upside down, do that, all right? And you can kind of hear it. If you're listening really, really closely, you can hear this. If we get 20 of you, 25 of you, we can kind of hear it. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to waste a piece of paper doing this. But if you can hear this, those are the wrong kind of strokes. Yeah, I did just waste paper. Oh my goodness, Ricky's disappointed. All right. So these are some short strokes that we would see on the nose. Let me flip it around here. Okay, these are some short strokes that we see on the nose. Now you can see as we get towards the side of the nose, can you see that? Okay, it's really, really light. So that means I'm going to scratch more off. And we are using dots, dashes, all right, and lines to get white areas. So as I want to get it lighter, I'm going to take more and more off. And I'm going to come back every once in a while and take more and more off. Or I may say, hey, you know what? I definitely have white here. I've got a dark, medium gray right here. That's what I want. In fact, I may need to get darker, so I'm going to make the strokes further and further apart. You can see the gradation or the gradual change from light to dark there. Okay? As we get towards the side by the ear here, we've got some longer strokes, and yes, you don't have to have just dots, but I'm going to use this kind of touch pull that I know you guys learned about in 6th grade, and I believe we even talked about it in 7th grade. And that's where you basically just touch the paper and you kind of wisp your hand to go from a thick to a thin line. You're going to see that in some of your animals. All right? Now, just because you see a white area on the animal, that does not mean you scratch it out completely. You need to get permission from the teacher to say, okay, I want to make this area really white. I'm looking at this white area around his nose. Its nose, excuse me. It is pretty light, but I don't want to come in and just start scratching the entire thing out. All right, it'll look very splotchy and it won't look very good. All right, so do you have any questions? I will tell you again, this is probably the most successful project over the years for 8th grade students, but it does require a little bit of time. It does require you to step back every once in a while. And I say step back, but I mean put your, hold it at arm's length and actually look at the picture, look at your artwork, and evaluate it from a distance. All right? This is going to take us all of this week and a day or two into next week. So take your time, do a good job. And by the way, if you break these tools, you do have to pay for them. Don't bend too hard on them or they will snap, and then you have to, basically you have to,
How much do
pay
they
for it.
cost?
I don't know.
That's what I was gonna
All right?
I remember
You
they
can
were
turn it
big.
off.